Just to start off, last two times you played Charlotte, tied 1-1 at the end of last season, and now again in this season, the USL Eagle Master Cup. What are you and the coaching staff seeing that's you want to make this a difference maker this time around?
It's a good question. Obviously, we need to find some way to create separation from them. First and foremost, like Charlotte, a very, very talented group, is super athletic, individual quality is excellent, and Coach Jeffries has probably got the most experience and most astuteness of all the coaches in our league. So that's the challenge that lie ahead of us. In each one of the games, we have felt that there's avenues for us to have got the win. So there's cleaning up of that. I think the away game last year, we were missing a couple of our more athletic players that matter in that size of a field that we're playing away. And then a home game, I think they had employed some tactics that are clever to manage an away game, so we couldn't quite break them down. Away from home, on their field, big space. So we've got to utilise that space really well to really put them under pressure. And we've been training a lot of actions this week in training to try to get the combinations of our players better and their attacking potency better, because we feel like coming out of last Saturday, that was lacking. We had control, but we didn't have any cutting edge. And no point having that much of the ball unless you have cutting edge. So that's something we've been working on heavily this week.
Then Overgan Jr. has been a threat for Charlotte this season. He scored 7 goals in all competitions. How are you and the coaching staff looking to handle his presence in Saturday's match?
Yeah, there's quite clear qualities of a few of their players that they have in the front line have really distinct individual qualities. So some of our staff are designated to kind of work at the back line. There's been a bit of training with that, but there's also been a lot of just clips shown to the boys to say, okay, these are the habits, these are the pockets he's trying to arrive in, and what kind of actions based on our skill set do we have to make, because we have to get tighter. And they've got a lot of attacking potency, and be clear, if we manage to go to Charlotte and get a shutout, that'll really instill a lot of confidence in the back line, because they've got so much attacking threat, so much individual quality, that if you get the shutout there, then you've done a terrific job. So that's the challenge. If you're a defender, that's your challenge ahead of you. Shut out top attacking player, go do it. Go make a name for yourself.
Mason Tunbridge has started his 3rd straight match for the club. What have you seen from him in his development these last few weeks?
Yeah, Mason's got a very, very good quality. He sees passes as good as anybody in our club. He has range of passing and a composure that's elite for USL 1. What he's been on a journey to is he's had quite a few obstacles. Quite a few of them weren't by his design. Things with visas, things with illness, things with not having a pre-season. So he's been on catch-up, and we've felt in the last 3 or 4 weeks he's finally physically at a place to where he merits a start, and we can see all of his upside that he clearly has come to fruition, and limit the things that have been working against him into a capacity that he can play in matches at this level. So that's been good. He's went from strength to strength. Again, this Saturday, he'll certainly have a contribution in the game. But we've got quite a few attacking guys all vying for those positions, and that competition is good, and it's about output. Who's given us the most output, not just from last week, but in training all week. And all of those attacking players have been bringing that to the table, and they know the challenge ahead of them this week.
That's all I have.
All right. You mentioned kind of the competition in practice for playing time and everything. Who's kind of stood out to you in practice that's maybe hasn't seen much playing time, that's fighting for that spot either on the 18 or on the starting 11 in the last couple of weeks in practice?
I tend to try to stay away from naming individual guys in these types of situations, but to not deflect your question, I'll throw one your way that springs to mind. I think Austin Wenner is somebody that is not been in the 18 week in, week out, but his attitude in training has been superb, and he's trying to force his way into contention up against guys who are maybe longer in the tooth in terms of the professional experience, or have a clearer identity of what position they play. But Austin's trained terrifically well, and he's somebody that the staff are actively talking about quite a lot in the office, about, okay, what position do we see us employing him? And he's asking the right questions, and he's asking questions, pushing, but still bringing the right attitude to training and responding week to week. So that's a challenge a first year pro has, and he's navigating that so far really well, being at it while still being respectful. And kudos to that, because he's at the forefront of our minds because of the question you've just asked.
And if you would, just kind of what does he bring to the table? What does he bring to the team as far as his strengths and his abilities?
Directness in he understands as an attacking player I'm trying to score goals. I'm trying to bring physicality, pace, power, and unsettle the back line with that physicality and make them come off the field thinking, oh, that was annoying playing against him, because he's in the box, he's running at you, getting in behind you, he's battling with you, he's leaving his mark. There's other guys we have who operate between the lines more efficiently and so forth, but the skill set he has, he's maximising it, and it wouldn't be enjoyable playing against him because of the physicality he brings to the game, and that's something he's learning where on the field to employ that, and where he has to adapt his game to retain possession, recycle possession, and so forth. So that side of his game, we're learning him now, know what he is. We're at staff are a bit clear on what he is, and then he's a bit clear in the areas that we need him to improve. And that's a journey of a first-year pro, and we're enjoying that part of it.
And then it's been, I guess, about a month since you last played Charlotte. What areas have you seen improvement in your team from the game a month ago to this coming Saturday?
I think when you're in the midst of it, the improvements week to week, it depends on the opponent. You try to take everything with a pinch of salt. I think what I'd say about the group this week is I'd hope there's a bit of realisation of, okay, there's no point flattering to deceive at times. And I'm not necessarily saying we have in its entirety flattered to deceive, but we're making a lot of nice actions in the field, but we've not got the cutting edge. We should be winning more games. And that's been put in front of the boys this week, that we can't accept where we are. We should be winning more. Those games that we've let get away from us that shouldn't get away from us. And if we want to mount the serious challenge that we expect, that this organisation expects, that I expect, that the players should expect of themselves, then they've got to kick into gear soon. And they've got to understand those details within the game that they have to manage better to become the team that they want to become and have the chance to lift silverware come the end of the season. So you're now entering that middle third of the season where it's time to go. And you can't just roll into Charlotte and say, oh, we're going to win at Charlotte. They're a very talented group, really talented coaching staff. But we want to keep on seeing the fruits of the labour of the boys. Win, draw, lose. They understand the kind of minor details of professional football and what it takes to win matches and navigate games and situations in games and not be naive. And that's a lot of the conversations we've been having. So I hope this Saturday we enter the game with as clear identity as we've had this season. We've seen it in training. Now their job is to take that attitude and what they've done this week in training, which has been one of the better weeks of training we've had this year, and apply it into a game and the ups and downs that come with that. So that's what we're hoping to see, and it's up to the boys to present that come Saturday.
And kind of following up on that, one of the things Mason Tunbridge told me after the game last Saturday is he felt like the team hasn't fully clicked yet and everything hasn't clicked into place, but he feels like they're close. How do you feel as far as when and I know it's not a magic switch, but to where things start to click where there's less thinking and more just reacting and playing, like you mentioned earlier in the season?
Yes, look, football's about relationships. It's about communicating, relationships, and navigating situations. And we can micromanage every situation and play out this routine and that routine, but it's about you and I being on the field, being in dialogue with each other, me anticipating what you're about to do, you anticipating what I'm about to do, both with the ball and without the ball. And that's incredibly important. And sometimes seasoned veterans can navigate that and are more comfortable with their own voice in the field and more comfortable with those micro conversations. Our challenge with maybe 2/3 of the field being first-year pros, they're a little bit more insular, a little bit more independent, a little bit more worrying about themselves. And it's time for them to strip that off. It's time for them to have the awareness that you have a voice and you can communicate with your teammates and you can build relationships. And if you want to see the field, you need to prove to the staff you're part of a group who are really good at a certain action. You're part of a relationship that we need on the field. And if you're an individual piece, well, you're adding risk. You're adding jeopardy to whether you play. But if you can prove you can build relationships with teammates, then you increase your probability of playing. And that's what these boys are starting to learn a bit more. I wish they'd learned a bit faster, but they're starting to see that a little bit clearer. And there's been a lot of pressure put on that in training, maybe less tactics this week and more relationships and understanding of what you have to do in the field to win. And again, like I said before, hopefully Saturday we see the fruits of that labour and some of the guys start clicking into gear a wee bit more. And but it goes on. Yes, you see that with, we're not Chelsea, but you see that with teams that have younger type teams. It's a constant journey. Sometimes it's one step forward, one step back, and we've got to just keep on putting back in front of them the responsibility they have. And again, I think we've seen it in training. Great. We need to see it on Saturday.
And then you've now had a couple times bouncing back and forth between cup games and regular season games. Is there a difference? Have you found a difference in the way those games are played, whether it's a cup game versus a regular season game, or is it all just we're out there trying to win, we're going to play 90 minutes hard and see what happens?
I'd say at this stage I've not seen a massive difference. I anticipate when you get to the latter stages of the cup format and you've got a clear vision of the finish line and what you have to do, I think that will start changing the dynamic of it and it will become quite exciting. Right now, I think they all feel like USL 1 games, and not many teams have rotated squads dramatically, so it's best foot forward type matches. But it's quite nice to get back to league play this Saturday. Visualising one league, visualising another table, that can be difficult at times if you're trying to build momentum. But that being said, we're given 30 odd games in a season and you're trying to win as many as possible in whatever format they come. So it's we know, we're aware, the group's aware of where our standings are in the league. We played a couple of more games than other teams, so that probably gives a little bit of a false dawn on where we actually sit, points per game. So we're about to play in the next couple of weeks 2 teams that are right around us, and there'll be upwards pressure coming from some teams below who need to kick into gear and are starting to show some of that. So again, it's time to go and try and get 3 points in the road, take 3 points off Charlotte in that individual battle between those 2 teams and climb. And that's the opportunity that sits ahead of us.